Well, good afternoon, this is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant afternoon, and here we are in the spring equinox, and yep, the days are pretty well even. We've got 12 hours of daylight now, and as you can see behind me, the snow is starting to melt. Everything is soggy and messy and kind of dreary looking when you go down the trail, which is I was down there this morning, and it's of course just about collapsed now, but when you get to the end of the property, to the creek, oh my god, it's actually impassable. It's running so hard. So yes, we're in full swing here, getting ready for spring planting. I'll be getting some seeds out pretty shortly next month, and well, let's take a little look around the property. There's a few things been going on, but not a lot, of course, because well, it's winter time, and you know, like I say, it's sort of time to relax a little bit up here. Okay, so let's go take a look. So this is a big pine tree that's coming down. This pine tree shades the garden, and it is just getting a little too big. It's too close to the house. These other two are going to have to come down at some time, but we're going to take it in our stride. It's the cleanup. It's all that top stuff that's the problem. I just cut one down here, and you can see the remnants. I burnt off all that brush. But this is going to create quite a bit of difference as far as light is concerned in the garden. You can see, here's some of the logs. This will be campfire wood. Good white pine. But yeah, you can see the sun rises over there in the east. So these two trees are just completely in the way of the gardens, and I think growing food this year is going to be critical. I'm so glad that I am ahead of the game this year, and I don't have to do so much prep work, but I am planning to put in a couple of new raised beds over by the solar panels because it's a good full sun location. Yeah, that'll get cleaned up when the snow is gone. But yeah, we weathered the winter pretty good. The driveway wasn't as bad as I thought. It's a bit hilly, there's no doubt about that, and I did it 2 or 3 times by hand. But I had a guy come in and to do snow blowing. So this is where the raised beds are going to go. Right here is a nice little piece of flat ground. And as you can see, this is a full sun location, so it will be just perfect. Yeah, I had sort of put in a raised bed down there, and I may still do that. It is finding flat land. That's the real problem around here, finding flat land to put a raised bed in. The other thing I can't believe is with these solar panels. Man, oh man, do they ever catch the snow. I thought that it would be, well, that they would kind of just melt off, but no. Just about every other day I was out here with the broom, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day in the snowstorm, cleaning off these solar panels to collect the small amount of sunlight that you get in wintertime here in Canada. As you can see, this wood pile is getting down pretty good, but there is still about 3 cord of wood there left to split, so I'll be able to, this will finish off this year. I've been cutting down some wood back here to clear out this area, and this is all good burnable wood. It was dead standing wood, and there's a little bit here to go in the main pile. I've only touched the front row of that 10 cord, so it won't take much to fill that back in, and then that is my wood for next year. Absolutely perfect. But yeah, clearing out this area here, because these white pines have to come down. They were quite small when the property was purchased, and of course over the years they have just grown. They're way too close to the property, and so they have to come down, and that is going to happen hopefully in the next couple of months. I don't know whether we'll get all of them down, but we'll certainly get 2 or 3 of them. But this area had to be cleared out to allow that to happen, and I had to clear an area over on the other side and take a couple of trees down, so there is a a space for these to fall. That's the brush ready to burn off. But yeah, it's going to look quite different when this is cleaned out, and it will allow a little bit more light in here. And again, maybe this will be a situation you could put a small raised bed in here or something. Always looking for growing space. Always looking for growing space. Now that the weather's starting to turn, I'll be starting some work on this chicken coop and getting this mess cleaned up and out of the way. And I know this all this black stuff here looks pretty bad. This is charcoal out of the fire, and actually the furnace makes a really good biochar. I don't know if you can see those lumps of charcoal there, but this is extremely good for the soil, so I had no problem just throwing it over here. It will enhance the soil, and I may even have a little left over to spread on the garden. I've decided this year that what I'm going to do with the raised beds, I'm going to buy about 30 or 40 bales of hay, and I'm going to do hay bale gardening, because I am short of soil, and that will make great compost, and it is a great growing medium to have things starting in hay bales. And I guess you get about a third of a hay bale when it breaks down into soil. But that'll give you 2 years, a couple of years of planting, and I think in the coming times, especially with the fertilizer shortage that I keep hearing about across the world, that we're going to be having to make our own fertilizer. Yes, I thought I'd finish this little vlog off in here because it's a bit warmer and there's no wind. But yeah, you may be wondering why I haven't been making any videos just lately, and I really had to decompress for a couple of weeks, and yeah, I've been a little bummed out. I've been a little bummed out ever since the Truckers' Freedom Rally basically broke up in Ottawa there. And the reason I've been bummed out is because I see this over and over and over again. And here we have some people who put together some really good energy. There was a real movement behind this. Where was the plan? Where was the spokesperson, the official spokesperson? Where was the manifesto of demands that they were going to ask? Not just we want freedom and we want the mandates gone and so on and so forth. As I said in an earlier video, you know, we should have asked for new elections, proportional representation, and the right to recall, as well as all the mandates lifted both federally and provincially, because we just ended them provincially, but they're still in place federally. So I see a lot of good energy going to waste for the lack of planning. And you know, I was given an analogy years and years ago, and the analogy was, if you imagine, you know, two ships in a port, and one has no crew, no captain, no supplies, and the other one is loaded up with supplies, fuel, captain, crew, navigator, and a destination. If you let the first ship go and start the engines and just let it go away from the dock, it'll be lucky to get out of the harbour. However, the ship that has all of the supplies and the destination will reach its destination 99 times out of 100. And this is why, you know, in the Great Reset, we're just getting pounded. You know, go and look up the Great Reset. Go and look up the Codex Alimentarius on the UN website. Go look up Agenda 2030 and look at the planning that has gone into, the strategy that's gone into that. Okay, the war games, the planning out of all of that. And that is why they succeed and we invariably fail, because we just kind of run at that brick wall and we don't have a plan as to how we're going to get over that brick wall, and we get basically caught up at the first hurdle. I saw this with Occupy Wall Street. But it seems like every time I see a demonstration, the Gilets Jaunes in France, next thing you know, you got the jackboots coming out and people are getting beat up, and all of that energy has no direction. And so as long as we keep doing this, we are not going to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. and that is basically a level playing field. And until we overcome that, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a long haul. And so I'm encouraging people to, think about how we can plan what we're going to do when we do things. We have little convoys going around locally in different areas, and I think it's wonderful, that people are showing their support for this, showing their desire for freedom. But like I say, if you don't interpret that into some kind of a manifesto that is workable, it just tends to fall apart, and all that energy is lost, the moment is lost, and we're back at square one, except that we're a little bit more defeated and a little bit more daunted, and this eats away at your hope. The other thing that I've been kind of bummed about is that, this whole COVID narrative has now just disappeared. It's evaporated into Ukraine. The Emergency Measures Act, which just kind of silently went away without the Senate having to put its stamp of approval or denial on that act. And as I said, I've told many people, it's still in there. They can still freeze your bank accounts, and that is what they wanted. But I can see that, being caught up in all of this foofara around Ukraine and Russia, that we are going to forget that for the last 700 days, our politicians, our leaders, every health official that you can think of has done everything that they possibly can to harm Canadian citizens. They put us into lockdown. They have tried to force us to take inoculations, which we now know don't work. We know the lockdowns don't work. None of this stuff worked. It turns out this was all under false pretenses. And it's just going to get swept under the rug. Nobody's going to pay attention to it anymore. It's all just going to go away until maybe next fall when flu season comes around again. But there'll be no acknowledgement that there was an attempted genocide on 15 million Canadians in this country to deprive your citizens of the means and necessities to live, denying them work if they don't participate in an experimental trial inoculation. I mean, this is unbelievable. No benefits. In New Brunswick, you couldn't get into supermarkets without a passport. In Quebec, they had a vax tax for people who were unvaccinated. This is unconscionable. This meant that the 15 million Canadians were not going to be able to function, and it was basically a death sentence or participate. It was an either or. There was no freedom of choice in this at all. And I don't think we quite realise what we just escaped here. We came this close to annexing 15 million Canadians. So, that's the big deal, to let that go, and for the media not to say anything about it. I mean, we may have this come up in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time when we see how much damage has been done. Not by the inoculations, but by the results of the lockdowns and these enforced measures that did no good but destroy our economy, destroy people's lives, and upend businesses. I mean, like the damage, the carnage is just unbelievable. And now we're going to be going into high energy and high food. The inflation is just going to be through the roof. There will be no businesses, or very few businesses will be able to survive what's going to happen this year. And not only that, the people who might be their customers are also feeling the same sort of thing. And, they have to pay these high bills, and especially a lot of retirees, their income is pretty well fixed. A lot of people who are overbought on their homes, their income is fixed now because they have these huge bills coming in. And many of these people, I know some have been working from home, but many commute. And if your commute fuel bill doubles, and I'm already hearing people say that, it's not worth it to go in. It costs me so much to drive backwards and forwards. I'm better off working close to home and making half the money I'm making right now and save myself the time and the cost in energy. And if you don't think that is going to upset the work balance in the cities and urban areas, you're fooling yourself. There are some huge disruptions taking place in our society right now because of these unwarranted measures. And we're only just on the edge. We're on the cusp. And as I say, Russia and Ukraine will exacerbate the situation. And I honestly think that Russia, India, Pakistan, and China are getting ready to circle the wagons and turn their backs on the West. Because they can now be self-sufficient. They can now manufacture, supply themselves, and to hook up with a resource giant like Russia means that they have an inclusive loop, and they will just manufacture for what the things that they want for themselves. And it'll be all hell to pay for anyone else who wants to break into that manufacturing loop. The whole of Europe and North America, South America might have to retool to start manufacturing, and steel manufacturing especially. Because trust me, if you don't have a cutting edge, if you can't make a saw or a chisel, you don't have a civilization. We're going back to, you know, making small scale steel production at a forge with the village blacksmith, and that is not as easy as it sounds. So yes, it's going to be an interesting year. Anyway, it doesn't take me long to get over stuff. You know, I tend to be a positive personality. I am starting to give Bitcoin presentations because it turns out that there's still an awful lot of people who don't know about Bitcoin, how it works, what it is. And, you know, every time I watch a video on Bitcoin, it never really seems to tell you that brass tack stuff, like just how it all works. And so I put together a presentation, and I'm going around to some of the groups in the area to try and explain to them another form of lifeboat and hard currency that you can think of in an emergency. You know, because when these currency crises happen, and we've got all the indications of that falling into place right now with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. And if you don't think that that isn't going to rock the world financially, you can guess again, because this is a major event. Even if I did just find out that the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab is, China and Russia are just as in bed with the World Economic Forum as is Canada, the US, just as much as the EU and the UK are. So yeah, they're all in league, they're all in line, they're all, I'll link actually the video from James Corbett, the shocking document, and he found this document for the strategic plan going forward for on the Canadian website and on the Russian website. And it was a Russian-Chinese alliance agreement, and it was the Canadian-US agreement, and they're identical, word for word identical. So they're all on the same page. Now, how this is all going to play out, you know, we don't know, but I do know that the whole financial system is a ticking time bomb, and when this thing starts to go down, it can go down very, very quickly. And when it does, you need to know where your emergency exits and lifeboats are, and you need to be able to do that quickly. And so to have a basic understanding of this system and how to get in and how to get out and work within that system is going to be important information, along with understanding other hard currencies, whether that be gold, silver, land, food, or other assets that are tangible, that are usable and are going to be in demand. So that's what I'll be doing for the next little while, along with getting the gardens ready and planting, getting some seeds going. It won't be long. Like I say, once you hit 12 and 12, you can get those seedlings going in those starter trays. And yes, I am looking forward to this summer and not having to worry about the batteries so much and whether I got enough sunlight to run all of the pumps in the place. Didn't work out too bad. I'm not that disappointed, but man, oh man, I went through a lot of propane in that generator. That generator was on just about every other day or every third day for a full 12 hours to recharge the batteries when there was no sunlight. Okie dokie, well that's a little vlog of what's going on in my life and what I'm looking forward to in the future. I hope this finds you well. In the meantime, please like, comment, subscribe below. And this is Houndog Steve signing off, wishing you a very pleasant afternoon, and we'll talk very, very shortly. You take care now. See ya. Bye.